Oh, we lost you, Ms. Flowers. You pressed the mute.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
No.
I was thanking you for the work you do and for your service. It's really important work, and people don't realize how important it is until, we lose transparency.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's not, as they say, it's not sexy work, but it's important work.
That's right. Usually the important work is not sexy.
Right, isn't that right? Exactly. Exactly.
Well, we've got 7 of the 8 here, Jeff.
Yeah, I think we're just waiting on Mr. Gladner.
Okay.
Yeah, guys, I've got a bad connection. I'm down in South Arkansas. So if I go in and out, just letting you know.
How are things in South Arkansas?
Good. It's stormy.
Yeah, it's overcast here, but we've so far managed to avoid whatever. Hopefully it'll just be a rainy Wednesday.
Mm.
All of our
Yeah.
kids are out all day in North Little Rock.
Yeah.
They did a delayed start, and then it ended up that the delayed start was about the time that they had projected everything to get here. So now they're out all day, which I'm thankful for. I'd rather them be home than trying to get kids safe in the middle of a tornado.
I texted Neil to check. I haven't heard from him one way or another.
I thought, he indicated yesterday that he'd be able to attend, but he had a 9:45 or 10 o'clock
Yeah.
thing that he would have to cut out for. So.
We should probably go ahead and start for Representative Flowers.
Yeah, probably a good idea. Good morning. Call to order of the Arkansas Freedom of Information Task Force. Appreciate you all being here on a kind of a hastily called meeting. First thing on the agenda is approval of the minutes for March 28th.
So move to accept the minutes.
Approved by Mr. Brown. You have a second?
Second.
And we have a second. Motion to approve the minutes from the March 28th meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Second on the agenda is testimony and discussion of HB 1823 by Representative Vivian Flowers. The amendment to the FOI would require notice of public meetings to be published online, and Representative Flowers is here today to discuss her measure. Representative Flowers, you have the floor.
Thank you. This bill was actually brought to me. Joyce has done Yeowoman's work in keeping legislators engaged about some of the progress and what other jurisdictions are doing and how we could improve our FOIA law. And I we've met probably twice at least during the interim. And so the two bills that I filed are the bills that, we sort of agreed we would try to approach the legislature with this session. And I want to apologize too, because I have been so focused on pushing back on terrible legislation and then getting a Second Amendment rights restoration bill passed that I, let too much time go by when I could. And I'm saying this so in the future we can do it differently. I should have associated her with the legal, with the bureau attorney and let them hash it out and then filed it. But for those items that we approach next year, we'll do it that way. Anyway, we ended up with the two bills, 1823 and 1824. I think there's a little too much opposition and probably some tweaks that are needed for 1824. So 1823 is the only bill that I'm going to run today, and that will be run in state agencies. And you all heard what the bill does, and that's essentially what it does. So I'd like to share with you that I had a conversation with John Wilkerson with the Municipal League, and he was concerned about basically capacity of some small towns, saying that they don't have websites, they're not on Facebook. And in my mind, I was kind of like, yeah, whatever. But the more we talked about it, I started thinking about how a lot of times leadership in these areas are of a different generation that are not necessarily as technologically literate or savvy. And I thought about how we just made my dad stop using a flip phone. So, I just started hearing him, and that coupled with some concerns around the ability to control commentary on a Facebook page, and not being able to, he even mentioned not being able to squash that exchange or limit information or whatever. I did mention to him that there are some free website platforms, which then brought to mind the lack of capacity in some of these areas and the lack of broadband, even though hopefully those improvements will be made. So I did ask him, what kind of amendment would you suggest in order to make the bill palatable? And so he made sure to tell me that he couldn't promise support, but he said maybe changing the language to mandate the online dissemination of this documentation to municipalities that already have websites or social media or other online presence. And I figure if we make that change, then we could sort of start with that and come back next year and amend it and really work with cities to help them get there before having to include first and second class cities. And so I wanted to sort of get your feedback on that kind of amendment, and also let you know that Senator Clark Tucker is going to carry the bill on the Senate side.
So if I could just understand a little bit, the idea would be that you would amend it for just cities currently that have websites, an online presence, and then maybe put in there that in 2 years, you'd come back and maybe change it to maybe broaden it to other cities as well.
Right.
Correct.
I guess I'd highlight the same issue applies to counties as well. There's a lot of counties that don't necessarily have their own websites. I know that sometimes if you're looking up, I guess they have some information that the state provides, maybe. I'm not exactly sure. So I would just highlight that a lot of counties would be in the same boat as cities.
Right, right.
So since the bill at this point applies to any entity that is under the authority of FOIA, maybe what we can say is just entities that currently have an online presence via website, social media, or whatever. And so then that'll cover counties or, fire, what is it? Volunteer fire departments and whatever.
I tell you what, if we could just move on, next, we really want to get some comments from people in the audience before we get back to our discussion.
Okay.
Anybody in the audience like to make any comment for or against HB 1823? There was one.
Yes, it's Joey McCutcheon.
Okay, Mr. McCutcheon.
I'm really thankful for Representative Flowers in a number of regards as it relates to FOIA. As many of you remember, the FOIA task force vetted her bill regarding videotaping meetings, audio taping meetings, etc. I think that's been a wonderful pro-FOIA bill that has made our government more transparent. Along those lines, I've recently filed a lawsuit against Branch, Arkansas, who, and after several years or a couple of years after Representative Flowers' bill, we're still not videotaping their meetings, which is concerning. But that was a proactive bill, and I love it. I loved it, and I love this idea also. I totally support this bill. I do understand from talking to my client in Branch that they don't have an online presence. But I think it's time that even small cities, and I love the idea of the amendment that gives them a bit of a grace period. But with the idea that in a couple of years, as I understand it, that they will work to get an online presence, because I think citizens in Branch, Arkansas deserve that, just like citizens in Fort Smith have it. And they deserve to be able to see agendas online also. And that's a problem that my client had. So I totally support this bill. I support the amendment. I know that time is of the essence here since we're at the end of the session. Again, I thank Representative Flowers for bringing this bill, which will provide notice and transparency. So thank you.
Thank you. Looking at the chat messages, Beth Colbert, do you want to have a comment on this bill? Posted something on chat. I didn't know.
Excuse me. Thank you. Yeah, I just have a question, and I only looked at the bill last night. So, for instance, here in Washington County, okay, if someone were to request a notice of a meeting, under FOIA, where that says anyone who requests notice shall be given notice, would the counties or the cities or the entities be able to say, well, this notice online, that's the notice that we're given, and they wouldn't have to send that person an actual notice? Does that make sense? I mean,
It does.
because we actually have a lawsuit here in Washington County concerning that same issue.
Okay.
Representative Flowers can speak to it, but I read it as it would be an additional notice. I don't read it as it would replace it.
Yeah, it's not replacing. It doesn't strike out the language of the existing law. What it does is add another pathway for information. I see there have been so many laws where that have been proposed with legislators trying to outlaw the mandate for local government to have to report some of this information, data or notice in the newspapers. And I am absolutely against, outlawing that requirement. So this does not do that. It does not, it in no way strikes out current law. It only adds to.
I appreciate this, and thank you so much. I just kind of wanted that clarification because it's very helpful.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Ms. Cole.
I saw that. I thought you were talking about another bill. That's why I didn't say
Oh.
anything. I was like,
Next is Dr. Ajay. Would you have a comment?
Yes, I do. Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
good morning, Dr. Ajay.
With the Arkansas Center for Research and Economics, for those who know us, know that we've been working on the transparency report every other year for counties and cities, and we've always applied a collaborative approach to this. Most times we reach out to county judges, city mayors, clerks, just to make sure that everyone is on board with web transparency. So I see this as a laudable bill, a great bill, and I'm actually at the Capitol to testify in support of this bill. This is something great that our local government can do. But currently, 44 counties have standalone website. For first-class cities, we have 99 cities that currently have a combination of standalone and third-party websites. So that's 99 out of 112. So this should be something that should be easy for them to easily transit into if they are willing to do so. So thank you, Representative Flowers, for taking this on.
You're
Thank
most welcome. And we might, in making that change, what I'm going to do is also visit with Municipal League to ask them to help cities with their capacity along these lines and encourage them to share this, because one of the points I made to John is that the more transparency there is, the less likely, or the less room there is for people to abuse FOIA. Because if it's already out there, sending in multiple requests and asking for information that's already made public is no longer an issue. And also, the more transparent you are, the less people come lurking and being suspicious. It's out there, so if your meeting is at least audio recorded and you're making people, you're availing people of information so that they can attend, it just doesn't look like you have anything to hide. And it gives people an opportunity to see what happened, even if they couldn't attend. I don't know how much better you can get at, engaging people and being transparent with what has happened.
Right. Anybody else in the audience wish to make a comment? If not, we'll go to the task force members. Jeff?
So Representative Flowers, I mean, I have no issues in terms of, asking entities to post on their website. We do that. I'll say, like, for Arkansas State University system, we do it for regular meetings. Don't necessarily do it for called meetings. We follow the 2 hours notice and really try to give more than that in almost all situations. But I just want to point out, from a practical standpoint, citizens aren't visiting municipal websites on a daily or hourly basis. So, posting maybe your regular meetings that are scheduled for the whole year, that makes sense. But the thought that you've got to put a special meeting, that's called 2 hours or half a day or even a day ahead, posting on the website, at the end of the day is not going to be particularly helpful. The single best thing that we offer and do, and I think a lot of entities do, is if you want to be notified when there is a meeting, you let us know, just like people do for this task force. But if you want to be notified of a meeting, you let us know and we put you on an email list. And I guarantee every municipality, every county entity in the state uses email. And an email list it doesn't take technology savvy to maintain that.
For sure.
And that's the most immediate, what we call, from my marketing background in terms of direct marketing to let people know, hey, there's going to be a meeting in 2 hours. Because even with social media, now that the algorithms are so bizarre, just because a city posted on their Facebook page doesn't mean anybody is going to see it, because it may or may not show up in that feed. So I just want, from a realistic standpoint, I just kind of wanted to point out that, I'm all for these things being posted on the website, but the single best thing that entities can do is encourage citizens. If you want to be notified, get on our email list and you will receive that direct notification, as opposed to posting on a website, trying to find it on a website. And there's no notification truly from a website. So I just want to point
So
those.
that's a good point. Yeah. Yeah. And up to that, I would only add or respond that sometimes when that information is made available through those portals, it makes people aware that it's even happening or that it has happened, and so I think that's maybe the one big advantage. So many people rely on online, rely on the web, the internet for their news, and so especially younger people. And so I think this is just a way to begin that awareness and communication, utilizing technology without taking away from what we already do. But I do agree with what you just said, for sure.
And I wanted just to be clear, and Mr. Gruber mentioned this as well, in that there are several counties that still aren't as internet savvy as they probably should be. So if you're going to talk to municipal league, check with Association of Arkansas Counties as well to see what they can do to work with those counties that really need that improvements, that assistance.
Yes, for sure. I'll do that. Yeah, and let me ask your thoughts about this. And I'm going to be brief since I've got to call in the amendment. So I'm looking at the 48-hour notice as something that would apply to everyone, but the dissemination of those notices on the internet being something that we're curtailing for people who already have that technology available. Because Dr. Ajay was, I guess, when we were talking about this issue, that the 48-hour time frame or time requirement, notice requirement, is something that people do, but is not necessarily in law, or am I mistaken?
I can only speak for myself, but in Saline County, at least, we do try to proactively put agendas and things of that nature on our website and social media. Just because, like you've noted, the more public awareness there is, it assists just making sure that they're comfortable with what the county's doing in other regards as well.
Mm-hmm.
So as far as the amendment that you're looking at, it would just make this for all government entities that meet and follow follow under the FOI, except for smaller entities that don't have the capacity for the internet access capacity. Is that the amendment?
Rob, I understood the representative to say that the tweak or the amendment would be that for all entities that have either a web page or a Facebook page.
Okay.
I mean, so the reverse. And I don't, Representative Flowers, I don't mean to speak for you, but that's what I understood you to say.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay.
And we're not going to
Thanks.
mention municipality or county or anything. We're just going to say all entities under the authority of FOIA who currently have a web or social media, an internet presence through website, social media, or other similar platform.
Representative Flowers, let me also echo what other people have said. I appreciate your efforts very much. I especially appreciated your comments just on transparency and the importance of transparency. And I'm glad that you're working with Senator Tucker to run the bill. Clark certainly knows FOIA well.
Yes.
Clark's my senator, and he ran what I thought was a good FOIA bill.
You have a very good senator. He's one of my best friends in this institution and in life.
He's great for a Democrat.
Good person. He is.
Yeah.
He's actually great. He's actually great for Republicans too. He knows very well how to work with them.
That's my
I'm
little
always impressed how he's able to navigate those waters.
Rob, if I could just real quick.
Sure. Sorry.
No, you're fine. She hit on most of the concerns that the municipal league had after talking to John. And I would just say that with the amendment, that would be something that I would vote to support for those entities where it is available. I would support that as a task force member appointed by the municipal league.
Okay.
I'm actually about to text the attorney right now.
I move that we endorse as amended the proposal.
Second.
All right, we have a motion to approve the amendment as amended, proposed amended. And we have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Great.
Thank you,
Representative
Representative
Flowers, thank you so much.
Thank you all so much. I'm signing off. You guys take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right. Anybody else have any public comment before we adjourn? No other public comment as far as any new business?
I want to say something. I anticipate this is our last meeting of this session since things are winding down. It's too late for things. And I think I made the same observation 2 years ago after the regular session, and absolutely nothing happened. So I'll try it again. But I know we referenced the FOIA Coalition. To this day, I don't know who's on the FOIA Coalition, what it does, whether it meets. But we've said really, this is our third session that all of these bills come out, they get filed, and they come before us and we debate them and talk about the problems and so forth. But we never, it's not the role of the task force, because the task force is supposed to review legislation. But I want to, again, encourage the FOIA Coalition or any other entities to be more proactive over the next year in meeting with people who have expressed concerns about challenges, whether it's the municipal league or association of counties or media entities or those of us who fulfill FOIA requests almost daily, to be proactive in thinking through the way FOIA could evolve in a positive way without hurting it, without hurting transparency. I think there are a lot of reasonable issues that have been raised. And frankly, I think everyone needs to, all of us pro FOIA people need to square off with the fact that we dodged some bullets in this session in terms of some bad stuff that if certain votes had been in the room and so forth, I think things could have been very different. But we've railed on the fact that there's no definition of a meeting by statute. Well, there are multiple bills. There was an effort to do a compromise. That meeting was terrible. There needs to be a discussion on it in terms of what is palatable to everyone on the definition of a meeting. I've noted in multiple times the 3-day deadline on delivery of documents. When my late good friend Bob McCord was contemplating this, he wasn't contemplating entire police forces running around with body camera video and people filing FOIA requests to watch the video for sport and entertainment, and how long it actually takes to redact and review video and things. As I've said before, I think there's still a lot of personal information on citizens that gets distributed unbeknownst to them as a violation of their privacy that we still have not addressed. So I think there are issues out there, and then there are other issues that we've got to continue to defend. But we need to be more proactive and stop waiting on these surprise bills and giant bills that have a lot of horrible things in it for transparency, but be proactive and be reasonable in listening. So I know there's some people on this call who are probably involved with FOIA Coalition and Press Association and so forth, but I'd be happy to help in any way. And I know there are a lot of people, and I would also note that the Attorney General's office, wants to consider some things based on their experiences in dealing with FOIA law. So I'll just throw that out. There may be nothing over the next 2 years, but for those who may or be involved in some way, I hope there will be consideration that there could be some discussions in the interim.
Excellent point.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to piggyback on what Jeff said, because I agree with what Jeff said, and hearing testimony, and not in this session, but from the last one, about the number of people who just want to, because they can't listen to police scanners, want to listen to a week's worth of 911 calls and things of that nature. The public's appetite for entertainment, using FOI for entertainment, is sooner or later going to get in the way of using it for public policy. And that doesn't even take into account things that we can't imagine in terms of artificial intelligence as quickly as it's coming. That may be helpful, it may not be, I don't know, but I agree with Jeff that those of us who came into this thinking about Freedom of Information Act as it relates to journalistic enterprises and public policy, I found myself shocked about the number of people who use it for fun. And that's not what it was intended for. I don't know how we handle that, but it needs to be addressed in a responsible way.
I did FOI requests at state police for years with Bill Sadler, and state troopers thankfully did not have body cams in the years that I handled the FOI request out there. But police departments are especially hit hard when you talk about the request for entertainment. In the city of North Little Rock, we are, very, very blessed with our PIO department that handle their FOI requests beautifully. But there is a lot of work for police departments, especially when you talk about what you mentioned, Neil, a week's worth of 911 calls. And as Jeff said, all the YouTube posters that get the video of, pursuits and stuff like that. So I would just throw in my 2 cents and say that I would really like to see a little bit of focus on not hiding it, but just when it comes to police departments, recognizing how much they are getting requested to put out there. And they do put it out there, but it's a lot. And that's from someone who did them for state police.
Right. Thank you.
Jeff, I'll reach out. I agree. We need, in fact, last session, I think I did reach out to some folks and nothing happened. Point being is I agree with you. We need to do something in the interim. We, not as a body, but we as individuals. So I'm going to reach out to Ashley. I'm on the coalition, but you're right. The coalition, meaning you're right, it's hard to tell who's on that coalition. So I'll reach out to Ashley from the Press Association, who's on the coalition, of course, and copy you and copy all the members. I'll reach out first just to coordinate, but we'll try to encourage them to set something up to start this process. Anyway, folks, I don't mean to cut off the conversation, and I see Will has a comment, but I have to run, so I'm going to take off. But please, obviously, continue, and I'll see you all soon.
Thank you, Robert.
Jeff, thanks for saying that again. And you were right last time, to turn a phrase, winter is coming. And if we don't try to regulate and tweak ourselves, we're going to have something that we're unhappy with. So I'm happy to participate. However, whichever group wants to look at it, I'll certainly give my time. But Jeff, thanks very much for saying that.
Will?
Yeah,
I guess I would just say that there have been discussions about an interim study, if possible. Is it too late in the game to get an interim study?
Have to get somebody from the legislature to file it, I guess. I could reach out to Representative Vivian Flowers, and talk to her. Maybe she could do something.
Yeah, I think that any of the bills that have been filed, I think, can be referred to interim study.
Sure.
And so maybe you can just piggyback off one of those bills being referred to interim study and potentially expand the conversation. I like that idea because to me, it's more formal than just assuming that we can pull everybody together. Maybe we can get more resources from, the Bureau of Legislative Research and things of that nature, because I agree with everything that's being said, that I think it's time to take a look at all the issues going on with FOIA and try to get everybody impacted by it together in a room over the next 2 years to try to come to a resolution.
Right. All right. I'm also on the coalition as well, along with Robert Steinbuck. So as far as future meetings, I do anticipate this is the last one. If not, of course, we will, I'll let you know, but I think this will be the last meeting. And so with that, I guess we will adjourn. Thank you very much.
Can I make a comment?
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Another comment?
Yeah, this is Joey. I just wanted to say that I agree with what's been said here. I think we need to have discussions. We did dodge some bullets this time. I've practically begged for meetings and to try to work something out. But I've talked to the Attorney General. I've talked to various people. But I think in terms of definition of a meeting and these other issues that were brought up in the open records hearing the other night, I think we need to look for solutions that, number one, preserve transparency, but also address the efficiency side of things also. Or I think in the next legislative session, we'll get it shoved down our throat. And we don't need that or want that. And so I appreciate the comments there, Jeff.
All right. Thank you, Mr. McCutcheon. All right. Looks like we're adjourned. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you all.
Bye.